let's talk about the end of the world. You experienced it in movies, but now in the life of Chuck, you end up in a situation in the chapter we see you in where the world seems to end and no one has a clue what is going on. Mm-hmm. How disturbing and how horrifying is this idea of a world collapsing and you cannot do anything?
It was a pretty wild thing to explore because, whenever I'm playing a role in anything, I'll always ask myself, how would I genuinely feel in this situation to try and make it as truthful as possible? And so I had to ask myself the question of how would it feel if it was the end of everything? Like, really, how would that feel? And so many emotions came up for me. It was terror. It was adrenaline. It was also finding humor in the face of this terrible adversity. So many different conflicting emotions came up, and I tried to kind of just put them all into the performance.
To be real, the end of a universe or the entity of existence sounds very much like a story Stephen King would write, but then we experience the life of Chuck and it's totally different from anything I would directly connect to him. What was the first time you read or heard about the story? Was it when Mark called and said, hey, we said years ago we shall do something again together, or how did it come up?
It was exactly like you just described. Like, he called me. He was like, I found the thing that we are going to work on together again. And I was like pretty much ready to sign up immediately. And I didn't know anything about the project. And then he explained it to me. He told me it was an adaptation of a Stephen King short story. He told me it was not horror. I was like, huh? And he explained it to me, kind of pitched it to me, and then sent me the script. And I read it and thought it was beautiful. And we kind of got back on the phone and I immediately said yes. And then we just dove into talking about the character and kind of filling in a little bit more of her backstory that wasn't in the short story by Stephen King.
Before I have a question about your work with Mike Flanagan, we have to say something about the story and obviously about the one, the man, the myth, the one we are all thanking for 39 great years in this case. Charles Cairns, aka Chuck. What the heck? What is the idea behind it? Hanging posters around and seeing this guy, no one has a clue what he's doing. You said earlier you try to imagine living a situation like that, and now we're talking about the end of existence, and then there is this guy nobody seems to know, which is popping up everywhere. Any feels about that?
I mean, from a character perspective, I think she's deeply confused, but it's the end of everything. And so that's almost bottom of the pile of issues to deal with, that she keeps seeing a man everywhere. I think from an audience perspective, like having watched the film, it's a beautiful, cool, interesting metaphor for the end of a man's life. And that's what the whole movie is. It's a sort of exploration into one ordinary man's life, starting from the end of the life and working its way to the beginning of his life, and finding all the beauty in all of the smaller moments that we don't usually see on screen.
And one of the, for me, most beautiful moments was when little Chuck was talking to his teacher, and we get this wonderful quote like, everyone you ever knew, everyone you ever meet, everyone you just imagine, it will be a universe, a whole universe right between my hands. You contain multitudes. I thought it's a stunning moment, which is so beautiful to see that everything we see in our life is giving us something, but also we are building something in other heads and other minds. How is it with you? How big is the universe you already created between your hands?
I mean, it feels infinite. I think that's the thing with universes. Apparently, it's always expanding and it's infinite. And I think that, we're probably all walking around as mini universes, and it keeps expanding and it's infinite because you keep meeting new people and making new connections, and it sort of keeps spreading and evolving and growing. Yeah, it's pretty mind-bending and trippy when you think about it.
A person who is part of your universe, in this case is Mike Flanagan. I mentioned earlier, and you said it too, that there was this quote like, we should work together again. He's the one who brought you to America. You worked for British television and cinema before, but then there was a step for Oculus coming to the USA, to Alabama, where you shot again right now for this one. Is it right? How is it more than 10 years later, reconnecting, working together again, seeing how each other has grown during projects over this time?
Yeah, I mean, I'll always be grateful I had been working on British television. I was back home in my childhood bedroom in Scotland. And then I get this audition come through of like this movie, Oculus, and you've got to put yourself on tape. And then I remember I took too long. And then as an actor, you get submitted all these self-tapes and you kind of make them and then send them into the abyss and you never know if anyone sees them or not. So I was like, I'll do that in a few days. And then I get a call from my agents being like, Mike Flanagan, the director of this movie, is wondering where your tape is. And I was like, oh, I guess someone's interested. So I quickly dashed to try and make the tape. I had my dad reading the off-camera lines, who is not an actor, and then miraculously got the role. And then that brought me over to America. Had the best time working with him. And then, you know, the call comes for The Life of Chuck. And I'm thinking, oh, I'd love to work with Mike again. How's it going to be different? Because in the space between Oculus and The Life of Chuck, his career has completely gone into the stratosphere. So I was like, is he going to be different? And honestly, it felt the same. It felt the same. I mean, we were back in Alabama, the same place we shot Oculus. We had the same crew members as Oculus. It was remarkably similar. And he was the same old Mike, which was really nice and comforting.
I feel like always when people do movies, they get something from it. Looking at your colleague, Tom Hiddleston, when I got it right, he had a 6 or 7 week crash course in different ways of dancing, which we in the movie can see in this great scene where they are in New Orleans, when I got it right. It's a wonderful dance scene. Was there anything for you learned or prepared for, which maybe we don't see in the movie, but you did it anyway?
Anything that I got from the movie? I mean, for me, my biggest takeaway is that after having watched the film for the first time, I mean, it really makes you question your own life choices. Actually, I remember questioning my own life choices during the preparation for this role as well. And I kept asking myself, if you knew that it was all going to end tomorrow, like, do you feel that, what would you do? Like, what would you do differently? What would you go and do that you've been too scared to do? And I found myself asking myself those questions a lot throughout the process of making this film and watching this film. And I think that was a really kind of powerful thing to ask myself. And I hope the audience members ask themselves that too, because I think we need to ask ourselves that question and then go do the things that are in the answer.
And was there ever a moment during the shot, after finishing the movie, that you maybe thought about the possibility that we are, in this situation right now, only the multitude in someone's universe?
That is so wild to think about. Like, you know, it scares me because I never actually think of it that way. I'm always like thinking, oh, am I in the Truman Show and everyone is like playing a role in this? And so many like lucky little coincidences happen in my life, and I don't know if that's the same for everyone, but I'm always like, what's going on here? Like, are you real? But to think about it the other way, like maybe I'm that in somebody else's life, is pretty wild.
Let's hope we are all not part of someone else's life. We are our own lives. And
character energy.
Yes, main character energy. And I have to say, thank you very much for your time. It was a wonderful movie. I loved the first chapter, and it was really stunning to see this whole life on the screen, and it was really lovely.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm so glad you liked it.
Thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a great day and some great interviews coming.
You too. Thank you.